All right, girlfriends. Hey there, this is Angela Jordan Perry. This is Girlfriend's Guide to Homeschooling. Another great episode that I had today with Rachel Jones. And Rachel and I just had her full interview. You can listen to that full interview on the podcast, which is called Girlfriend's Chat with Angela Jordan Perry on all of your podcast stations, okay? So Rachel Jones is out of Memphis, Tennessee, you all. And it's just so funny. She is a woman with a lot of accolades, a lot to be said of what she's done and who she is. And I won't say who she is, but I just say what she's done, because she's still becoming who she's to be. But she got a lot of things under her belt, and she forgot a lot of them. So one of the things she forgot was she wrote a book. So she and I were just talking about this. She mentions the book in the interview, and I thought, oh, you wrote a book. So but anyway, Rachel, say hey to the girlfriends.
How y'all doing?
So I am all about showcasing what people, what they do, and their gifts and what their donation is to the community, to the African diaspora. And one of the things that Rachel, you have done is authored this book. It's titled How to Free Your Legacy from the Oppression of MisEducation. And I want Rachel to dive a little bit deeper into her book. Tell us a little bit about it, where you can get it from. But one specific point that Rachel mentioned in the interview was this idea of, creating a haven, a peaceful place first in your home, and then allowing the education and homeschooling to be an expansion of that, but home first. Mm-hmm. So she mentioned how, often we run away and getting away from home and going to school to get away from home, going to work to get away from home, where actually this should be our ground where we are, fueled and encouraged and empowered and getting all the things that we need, the minerals, the resources that we need there, and then go out. So Rachel, you dive into that thought process. Tell us about your book, how they can get your book. Why did you even write this book? What was the need for writing this book? And then what does that piece look like about, building this home up, Rachel?
I wrote the book because after I started doing this work, I uncovered, I am a very free bird by nature, and I thought that I was free. I had some debt, but besides that, I pretty much thought I was free as much as I could be in the United States of America. And when I started to homeschool, I realized how much freedom we actually really did have on this side of things. Freedom that I had no idea about in the public school with a master's degree. I had no idea that this freedom even existed, because all the talk was that propaganda of they're not going to be socialized, they're not going to have any friends, that kind of thing. And I understood it to be the propaganda that causes so many of us to continue to send our children into those systems, that when I got over here, I had to learn what freedom was. And so as I began to explore that, especially with young people, and it was just little things. It would be like us out on the field trip, and the kids would go, this feels really weird being out, at 11 o'clock and other kids at school, and we're just out. Mm-hmm. But because we live in Memphis, Tennessee, mm-hmm. our conversation always was most kids are in school and they're not used to seeing groups of Black kids out for free. So they're going to think. So we have always had to have these talks, because in the homeschooling world, it's, mm-hmm. Dominated by white people. Right. And so having to create what our true freedom was on this side, mm-hmm. Was an interesting journey and I guess piece of understanding for me. And so I wrote this book to, one, help parents understand what those prisons are, that those mental prisons that are built around us, those systems that exist that keep us in the matrix,
Yep.
So the book helps to expose some of those things, but then it helps have families asking themselves questions and parents asking themselves questions, because true parenting is leadership. Bad parenting is leadership, but parenting should be an intentional form of leadership. And so I talk about that in the book as well, and talk about those ways that you can build up that leadership, build up that peace in your home, build those relationships with your children, those meaningful relationships, so that you can continue, develop freedom in the way that it should best look for your own family.
Okay. Okay.
So in the book too is also a guide that'll kind of show you how to transition from public school to homeschooling, or if you're already homeschooling, you know, I list some tools and some resources, and there are definitely some resources from Memphis there, but just some ideas about how to use the world to educate your kids too. So it's a little combination of everything.
Okay. All right. Beautiful. So tell us, if you will, specifically dive into this area of how do we build our home up? What do we do? What are the elements that we must have and put in place to build our home up so that it can be, what keeps coming to my mind is like a charging station. You know, when you put your phone on the little charger thing and you just lay it up there and it charges it. That's what I see the example of what the home should be like. It should be the charging station to keep us going for the rest of the things we have to do. How do we create that in our home and still get the homeschooling work done and still stay on top of everything that we have to?
I want to say, if you have not started doing the work on yourself as an individual, you don't have to do none of the other work. You can't get none of the other work done until you begin to do that work. You have to do that work on yourself. And some people, you know, are better at it than others, and maybe have been educated in that, but in that way. But a lot of us haven't taken the time to sit down and really deal with ourselves. And so it is going to make the whole process very difficult. And so, and I'm talking everything from, you know, family secrets, right? Like, how can I teach my children what they need to learn? And they know I'm probably hiding secrets or keeping things from them or trying to this up and cover that up. Okay, then they're gonna know on the education when I'm trying to tell them something, they might even believe what you're saying. So you want everything to kind of be worked out and out in the open, so that and that's part of that work. That's just part of that work. And so that's why I keep saying it is hard work. It is really hard work. But the beauty of it is, once you start that work and you're continuing that work, because that work never ends, all of the lessons, all of the wisdom, all of the things from your individual self that are being peeled off are all going to impact and affect your children. A lot of it to teach to them, they will learn by watching you go through that process.
Right.
And so, of course, I believe in homes, you know, it should be a mama and a daddy. And all homes don't necessarily run like that, and that's fine. So if you're a single parent, if you're a married family, I think the work begins with just simply asking questions. When parents come to us for consultations, one of the first things we ask them is, have y'all ever done the love language quizzes together? Have y'all sat down just to figure out what each other's love languages are? So long before I can teach you math, I need to know how to express love to you, and you should know how to express it to me. And then that'll change. So let's keep coming back to the table and having those very important conversations that are building our families. A lot of times with our kids, we're saying things like, you know, take out the trash, do your clean room. But have we sat down to ask them what they think about Donald Trump or R. Kelly? Like, do we know where our children's minds are around issues that really matter? Do we take in their opinions? Are we in a place where we can listen to them? Or are we controlling? Are we coddling? Are we bossy? Are we toxic?
Are we teaching them? Are we showing them how to think? Are we telling them how to think? Are we making, you know, giving them a way to think?
Right.
Are we teaching them how to think? It's two different things. So,
or are we those parents that, like I was saying, you know, the lazy, the controlling parents? And so it's going to be really, really difficult to teach our children if we don't first stop and do that individual work on self.
That's a very, very good concept. So with that in mind, what is the process of us starting the work on ourselves? Do we start that before we even consider homeschooling? Is that what's important? Or do we make sure that we're doing that process while we're in homeschooling? Is part of the homeschooling us working on ourselves? What does that look like, Rachel? Tell us what we got to do here.
I think it's just I think it's just a decision to decide to do it. I don't think you have to wait and then do the work and then pull your kid. Once you make that decision to do it, it's going to get done. For some people, you may need a counselor. For some, you just might need to read some self, help books. For some people, you can listen to some teachings from like a Dr. Miles Monroe, who teaches heavily on personal leadership. Right. To help you begin to process, because I don't know what it is that people are dealing with, but I know for a fact, unfortunately, sexual abuse is prevalent in many of our histories. Drug abuse, alcoholism, growing up with an alcoholic parent. And so you maybe had a parent who was narcissistic or toxic, and even though you didn't like that, some of those same habits, we pick it up and now we're doing it to our children, kind of thing. The thing we hated is the thing we became. You don't have to, wait to do that work and then pull your kids out. You start that work immediately, and you involve them in that work too. But I do have, and I have this in the book, but I can read it to you. I have a list of questions that I like people to, start with and use them to begin to consider some of the things that they may need to, some areas they may need to examine. So the first one is, are there family secrets that need discussion?
Okay.
What do I need to heal from? Who do I need to forgive? Who do I owe an apology to? Am I prideful? How? How do I become more gracious? How do I become more humble? How do I become more sincere? Are my personal boundaries intact? Have my personal boundaries been moved? Am I the one that didn't stay consistent to have them moved? Right? Am I being consistent in my thinking? Am I speaking more negatively to myself, or am I speaking the truth in love to myself? Right? And so there's that other, does my mood, I'm trying to look at them, does my mood, this is an important one, especially for women. Does my mood, how's my mood dictating the mood of the household? And then, am I intentionally breaking a generational dysfunction?
Girl, you're going a whole different level on homeschooling. That's a whole different level of homeschooling.
If homeschooling is home training, then we do have to, again, and I keep saying this, I do believe the Bible. The Bible says we should be training our children up, right? Now, how can I train you to do anything that I'm not doing myself?
Right.
And so, yeah.
That's good. That's
and
good.
then, like, sometimes I get people's children, right? They come to my house and they're here for tutoring and everything's cool. And then their moms will pick them up and their whole attitude go from, because in my house, they're allowed to speak. They're allowed to have an opinion. They can laugh, they can crack jokes, they can be themselves. And then their moms or their dads come around and they got to be this pastor's kid or whatever their parents expect them to be. And I'm like, that's not healthy. It's fake.
Yeah.
It's not helping the child. And then those same children will tell us, they hear their parents arguing all night long when they sitting up stressed out, and I'm like, we have to understand that everything that we're doing, not just the book stuff, not just the math, not just here are the steps to get you in college. That's cool and fine and dandy, but the most important piece of educating your children is going to come from the inside of you. So if I'm talking negatively in my head, I'm always down on myself. I'm not enough. I could be more. Now I might not ever say that out loud. I might be wise enough to never speak those things out loud. But guess what's coming out of my actions that my children are at all the time? My inner thoughts. So it is deep. It's deep, but it's not that deep. It's not that deep. And it's not that
It's what
hard,
we should be doing anyway as part of life. It's what we should be doing, especially if we have parents and have children. But a lot of that things become magnified and brought to the forefront when you're homeschooling because you're with your kids all the time. And so you got to do that work. That's very good. And I'm glad you touched upon that. And if for nothing else, focusing in on ourselves and doing the work on ourselves as we are homeschooling, if nothing else, it brings healing to homeschooling or healing to this family as we're homeschooling, because we're trying to we're working to get all that stuff cleaned up and cleared out of our lives. And I appreciate you bringing that to the focus. And, hopefully, prayerfully, girlfriends, we will take that into consideration. It is easy to stay on the facade of bringing books and education and academics and all this kind of stuff, and we're functioning there. But we still can be a broken family that is still holding on to a lot of generational baggage as we're educating our children in this freedom. And we're not emotionally free. We're not mentally free. And we're operating in dysfunction, but a great academic homeschooling. Right. So, and
I've seen it. I've just seen it one too many times. And so that was really one. And I hate it when I see it. But we've had young people and they'll be, intellectually all the way up here reading out the wazoo. And then once they hate themselves, they hate their nose, they hate their black lips, that kind of like, where are you getting that from? Where are you getting that from? And how can we work that out of you? And so it is a work. It is a work. It is a labor of love is what homeschooling truly is.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing all that and giving us another perspective. This is a conversation, again, I have not had. in any of the hundreds of interviews I've had, we've never dove into this. It's always academics, and you're pulling us out, hey, yanking us out of the academics for a moment and getting into our real lives and where we are, and let's do this kind of healing here in the family. So I appreciate you, Rachel, again. Thank you for the wisdom and the nuggets. I hope that you have more books that you're coming out with, but nevertheless, tell us where we can get this book from that you have written.
It is actually an ebook, but so you can find it on our website at www.thecoolnerds.org.
Okay.
And so once you log in, there should be a link up at the top, and you can grab a copy of that book.
Okay, great. Very good. It's the ebook. So all of that will be in the show notes, girlfriends. Get connected to Rachel. Rachel, you need to have a podcast. You need to have something. You got a lot to say. And
I'm a farmer right now. I'm farming and like managing a couple of, like even this morning I was out at my dad's house and I got he gave me a half acre of land. And so I just started planting there today. And so y'all come find me, come hang out with me out there and we'll talk all day.
You can have your phone and have your earphones on and work in the dirt and talk.
Okay.
You can do dual things, okay? Because you just got a lot to say and a lot of insights to give, and we need you to pass that knowledge on, okay? Like you said in the interview, you got to pass it on. Teach a man how to teach a man how to fish.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, I'm trying to give her more stuff to do. Like, come on, Rachel, do this thing. But thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you, girlfriends. Thank you for joining in. Make sure you hit the share, subscribe here on YouTube and on Facebook. Begin to go ahead and follow. And get this word out and share. These are some amazing and encouraging, resources that these mamas are sharing, especially today on this. Rachel is my Purple Cow episode. Again, she certainly is a Purple Cow person. So thank you. Peace to everyone. And until next time, we'll see you soon. This is Angela Jordan Perry. Peace, everybody. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.